Before you buy your first vending machine, you need to hear this. Because the machine is not where beginners usually mess this up. They mess it up before the machine ever arrives. They buy before the location is locked in. They don't confirm the outlet. They forget to measure the doorway. They don't know what the insurance the property needs. They sign for a damaged machine before they unwrap it. And suddenly, what was supposed to be their first cash flowing asset turns into a very, very expensive problem. So in this video, I'm gonna walk you through the complete first machine checklist. What you need before you buy, what to confirm after you order, and what to do on install day so your first setup actually goes smoothly. Save this video, because if you're serious about vending, you're probably gonna come back to it. Let's get into it. 1, lock in the location before you buy. First rule, do not buy a machine until you have a location agreement. I know buying the machine feels like the exciting part, but the business is the business. I've seen people get excited, order a machine, and then it sits in a garage because they don't actually have anywhere to put it. That is not a vending business. That is an expensive refrigerator. Before you buy, you need a written agreement with the property, and that agreement should cover a few things. First, you need permission to place the machine. Second, you need the exact placement agreed to. Third, you need access hours. Fourth, you need an out clause. That out clause is important. A lot of beginners are afraid to ask for it because they think it makes them look less committed. But if the location is not performing after 60 or 90 days, you do not want to be trapped there for a year. The out clause protects you just as much as it protects the property. You also want photos of the agreed placement. Not just the lobby, not just near the front. Take a photo of the actual spot, because sometimes the machine shows up and suddenly the manager wants it in a hallway over here or a back area over here where nobody's gonna use it. Placement can make or break the machine. So get it up front, and finally, get a real contact number. Not just the front desk, not just the main office line. You want the cell phone number of the person who could actually help you if something comes up, because eventually something will. Number 2, watch for these red flags. There are a few red flags that should make you slow down immediately. The first is a handshake deal. If they want your machine but refuse to sign anything, that is a problem. You are putting thousands of dollars of equipment on someone else's property. You need something in writing. The second flag is vague placement. If they say, oh, we'll figure it out where it goes later, that is not good enough. Later can turn into a low traffic corner, and a low traffic corner can turn into a weak sales. The third red flag is a bidding war. If a property is trying to get multiple vendors to compete on revenue share, be careful. You are not trying to win every location, you are trying to win profitable locations. If you give away too much margin just to get in the door, you may have won a bad deal. 3, get your money set up ready. Once the location is real, then you need the money set up. There are 2 paths here. You are either financing the machine or you are paying cash. If you are financing, get your documents ready before the property says yes. That may include recent pay stubs, business information, LLC details, and whatever the financing partner needs. The point is simple. When the property signs, you do not want to spend the next week scrambling. Momentum matters. If you are paying cash, know your budget before you start shopping. Depending on the machine, you might be looking at a few $1,000s on the low end and significantly more for a higher end smart machine. But do not only budget for the machine, you also need money for the initial inventory, insurance, setup costs, delivery or installation costs, a small emergency fund. For your first inventory order, I would usually keep it controlled. You do not need to buy every product imaginable on day 1. You need enough to stock the machine, test demand, and learn what the location actually wants. Then you double down on what sells. 4, separate business and personal money. Before that machine starts making sales, set up the business side properly. Open a business checking account, use a dedicated business card, track your receipts, track inventory, track sales. This is not just about taxes. It is about knowing whether your machine is actually making money. Revenue is not profit. If a machine does $1,000 in sales, that sounds great, but what did the inventory cost? What were the processing fees? What was the rev share? What did you spend on gas, maintenance, insurance, software, or service? You need to know what is left. That is the number that matters the most. If you mix business and personal money from the beginning, it becomes a nightmare to untangle later. So start clean. 5, get insurance before install day. Next is insurance. This is one of those things that beginners somewhat want to skip, but you really should not, to be casual about it. You are placing equipment on someone else's property. You are selling food and drinks. People are interacting with the machine. So speak with an insurance professional and make sure your setup is covered. You may need to ask about general liability, product liability, property damage coverage, coverage for the machine itself. You may also hear the term inland marine insurance. It sounds strange, but it can apply to movable equipment, and the vending machines are movable assets. Other thing many properties will ask for is a COI, which is a certificate of insurance. That is basically proof that you have coverage. In some cases, the property will want to be listed on the COI before they let the machine in the building. So do not wait until delivery week to figure this out. Handle it early. And when you are shopping for insurance, be clear that you are a vending operator. You do not want to be misclassified in a category that does not fit your business. 6, confirm the technical requirements. Now we get into the stuff that sounds boring until it ruins your install. First, internet. If you're using a smart vending machine, it needs reliable connection. That connection may be used for payments, back-end reporting, inventory tracking, cameras, and machine communication. You generally have 2 options. Option 1, use the property's Wi-Fi. That may be cheaper, but now you're dependent on their connection. Their Wi-Fi goes down, gets changed, or has a weak signal, that machine sits. You may have problems. Option 2, use your own cellular router or cellular connection. That may cost more each month, but it gives you more control. Neither option is automatically right or wrong, but you need to know the plan before the machine arrives. Do not show up on install day asking for the Wi-Fi password. That makes you look unprepared. Next, power. Many smart vending machines can run on a standard 110 volt outlet, but you still need to confirm the outlet is there, works properly, and is not controlled by a switch or automatic shutoff. Because if that outlet turns off overnight, now you may have a machine full of warm drinks or spoiled fresh items. Use a surge protector. Confirm the outlet. Confirm the machine can reach it safely. These are simple details, but simple details protect expensive equipment. 7, measure the full path, not just the wall. This is a big one. Do not just measure the spot where the machine is supposed to go. Measure the full path. The entrance, the doorway, the hallway, the elevator, the turns, the final placement area, and the space behind the machine. A beginner might measure the wall and say, great, the machine fits. But then delivery day comes and the machine cannot get through the door, or cannot make that turn, or does not fit in that elevator. That is the kind of mistake you only want to hear about from someone else. Bring a tape measure to the site visit, then after you order the machine, go back and measure again. Also, leave ventilation space behind the machine. Do not shove it flat against the wall. Refrigerated machines need airflow, and blocking that airflow can create compressor problems. So measure the width, height, depth, pathway, and breathing room. Tape measure is cheap. A delivery disaster is definitely not. 8, choose the right machine for the location. This is where a lot of people get distracted. They fall in love with the machine before they understand the location. That is backwards. The location should determine the machine. A 700-unit apartment complex may justify a more premium smart machine. A smaller office or a lower traffic site may need a more cost-efficient setup. The question is not, what is the coolest machine? The question is, what machine makes sense for this specific location? When you talk to suppliers, ask them more than just price. Ask, what is the warranty? What does the warranty actually cover? How long is delivery? Is installation included? What happens if the machine arrives damaged? What are the monthly software or connectivity costs? How does the support work after purchase? How quickly can I get replacement parts? The cheapest machine is not always the cheapest machine. If it creates a downtime, service problems, or support headaches, it may cost you more in the long run. 9, after you place the order, once the machine is ordered, do not just sit back and wait. Get the order number, get the delivery window, ask the carrier will notify you. Ask whether they call, text, or email. As you get closer, try to narrow that window as much as possible. Delivery companies are not always precise, so you want as much clarity as you can get. You also want to communicate with the property manager. Start early. If the delivery date changes, tell them. If it gets delayed, tell them. If it gets moved up, tell them. You want the property manager thinking, this person is organized. That matters the most, because you are not just installing a machine, you are building a relationship with the location. 10, delivery day. On delivery day, block more time than you think you need. Do not assume this will fit nearly into a 2-hour window. Delivery drivers run late. Trucks get delayed. Machines take time to move. Something may need to be adjusted, so give yourself room. Also, bring some cash. Sometimes a driver is only required to drop the machine at the curb or entrance, but if you respectfully ask and offer a tip, they may be willing to help move it closer to that final placement area while it is still on the pallet jack. That could save you a lot of pain. Done that once or twice. You do not want a machine sitting outside while you are trying to figure out how to move it. And this part is critical. Do not sign off on the delivery until you inspect the machine. Unwrap it if possible. Check for dents, check for scratches, check that the door's open, check that nothing obvious is broken. Take photos and video. If you sign first and discover damage later, it can be much harder to prove what happened. So slow down, inspect it first, then sign. Number 11, install day toolkit. Here is what I would bring on install day. Surge protector, tape measure, level, socket set, hammer or pry bar, cleaning supplies, initial inventory, any launch flyers or promotional materials. The socket set and hammer matter because machines can be secured to pallets differently. The level matters because you want the machine sitting properly. The cleaning supplies matter because a clean machine gets used more than a dirty one. And the inventory matters because you want the machine live the same day it gets installed. People are curious when they see a new machine. Do not waste that first day of attention with an empty machine. Install it, stock it, launch it. Number 12, first inventory setup. For the first stock, keep it simple. You're not trying to prove you know the perfect product mix on day one. You're trying to learn stock a mix of drinks, snacks, protein items, healthier options, and convenience items if they make sense for that location. Then watch what sells. If a drink moves, add more drinks. If protein bars move, add more protein bars. If something sits untouched, replace it. Do not restock based on what you personally like. Restock based on what the location actually buys. For pricing, look at nearby convenience stores. Then remember, convenience has value. If someone can grab a drink without leaving the building, that is more convenient than getting in the car and driving somewhere else. That does not mean you price irresponsibly, but it does mean you should price like a business. Also, make the machine look good. Put the strong sellers at eye level, face labels forward, fluff out the bags so they do not look crushed, group similar items together, drinks with drinks, bars with bars, chips with chips. People shop visually. Make it easy for them. And if you are using a smart machine with the back-end planogram, make sure the planogram matches what you actually stocked. If the machine thinks one product is in there and you put something else in there, that can cause problems. So keep the back end updated. 13, first month operations. Once the machine is live, the first month matters. This is where you set the tone with the property. Do not install the machine and disappear. Check in with the property manager. Ask what people are saying. Ask if anyone has requested products. Ask if there have been any issues. In the beginning, I'd rather over-communicate than under-communicate. You want the property to feel like you care. You should also visit the machine regularly, especially early on. Even if sales are still ramping up, your presence matters. It shows the manager you are invested. It keeps the machine clean. It helps you catch issues before they become bigger problems. And it gives you feedback from the people actually using the machine. Remember, vending is not just a machine business. It is a service business. The machine is the asset. The relationship protects the asset. 14, track the numbers from day one. From the first sales, start tracking. Track revenue, track product costs, track processing fees, track inventory, track restock visits, track maintenance, track profit. This is how you know whether the location is actually working. Not vibes, not guesses, numbers. If a product sells quickly, buy more. If a product does not move, replace it. If the machine is underperforming, look at the placement awareness, product mix, pricing, and traffic. The numbers tell you what to fix, but only if you are tracking them. So let's recap. Before you buy your first vending machine, you need the location agreement, the placement confirmed, the money set up, insurance, internet and power, measurements, the right machine for the location, a delivery plan, an install day toolkit, initial inventory, a first month operating plan, clean record keeping from day one. If you do those things, you are already ahead of most beginners because most beginners are focused on buying the machine. Operators are focused on everything around the machine. That is what protects your investment. That is what creates a smoother first install. And that is what gives you the confidence to go from 1 machine to 2 to 5 to 10. And if you want help doing this the right way, that is exactly what we help with inside Vendingpreneurs. We help you understand the business, avoid expensive beginner mistakes, access the right resources, and get support as you build. Because issues will come up. That is business. But having people who have already been through it makes a big difference. So if you are ready to take vending seriously, click the link in the description and book a call with the team. This is Anthony with Mike Hoffman and Vendingpreneurs. See you in the next one.